Let's talk about Kraven the Hunter. So we saw Kraven the Hunter. I saw it a few days ago. Alex, you just got back from seeing it, and we're going to talk about our thoughts on it. We'll do a spoiler-free version at first, just give our overall thoughts. We'll give it a score, and then we'll give a spoiler warning before we get into the spoilers of the movie. So, Alex, if you want to go ahead and start us off and tell us what you thought of Kraven the Hunter.
Yeah, so, I don't know. It's, I guess, in a similar vein for me as Venom, and, I guess it's like the Sony Spider-Man villain universe, whatever you want to call it. Honestly, I thought it was below average. I actually didn't mind it at first, but kind of as the movie went on, I liked it less and less. And there was some, I don't know if you noticed it, but there's some editing that was so weird, with voicing. There was a couple scenes where, one of the characters would be talking, and they stop having a conversation, and then one of the characters is walking away, and you can't see their mouth, and it just sounds like totally different audio.
Yeah.
They added it in, post-filming or post-production or whatever. There's a few of those moments. And I just thought it was generic. I mean, it was passable. I wasn't bored, I guess. But it was not that good. I thought the acting was What's his name? Aaron Taylor Johnson? Is that his name?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he did okay, but it was just kind of bland. And I think the supporting characters were pretty bland.
Yeah.
So acting not good. Special effects not really good. And there's some things, plot-wise, that I just did not understand. We can get into it in spoilers.
Yeah.
It's stupid. They didn't need to go through some of the stuff. Yeah, I honestly, it's below average. I would probably give it a 3 or 4 out of 10. I'll say a 4 just because I wasn't bored. So below average.
Okay. Yeah, I have a similar feeling in this movie. I did not think this was a very good movie. It kind of felt like I was watching a CW show, not a full-fledged movie. There were just some weird CGI. The plot was weird and meandering. Like you said, the dialogue, they did some weird stuff that seemed like in post or cut up some sneens. And some of we'll talk about some of the specific dialogue, but man, there was some really weird lines in this movie.
Yep.
I never really got invested in any of the characters. And you nailed it when you said it's very generic. This feels like a movie that would have been made in the mid-2000s that I would see on TNT when I was just bored flipping through the channels and watch it for a few minutes.
Exactly. I was thinking that exact thing when I was watching it.
Yeah, it was not well made. I just don't understand why Sony can't make a good comic book movie. I don't even really know that much about Kraven. I basically know him from the Spider-Man 2 game. But
Same.
Even what I do know, this movie did not feel true to the source material of Kraven. So I was between a 2 or a 3, honestly. I do not think it was very good. I wasn't super bored, so I guess I'll give it a 3. There was some okay action scenes, I guess, but it was pretty overshadowed by how subpar the rest of the movie was. So I'll give it a 3.
Yeah, I get that. And another thing I could not stand in this movie is they treat the audience like you're an idiot. They spell out everything. And I noticed it from the beginning when there's a scene, this isn't a spoiler, because it's just not. Or they're talking around the campfire, and then one of the guys is something about hunting or something with a lion, or your bastard son. They're just explaining it was the most random. Why would it doesn't make sense? Talking about it out of context. But when I was in the movie, they were talking about so much random things, and then all of a sudden, one of the bad guys mentions, "Oh, your bastard son." You couldn't let us figure that out. But that was just one example.
It's a classic case of show not tell. They did a lot of telling in this movie with boring dialogue
constantly.
Yep.
Yeah, we'll get to more in spoilers, but yeah, that was my biggest gripe. You kind of hit on it now, like a CW type show.
Yeah, especially with some of that CGI, some of the mystic parts where it cut to just weird scenes with weird glyphs and stuff on top. It's man, this just does not seem like it should be in the theaters. I don't know.
Yeah, it felt off. I don't know, there were some things I liked. I liked the way Kraven moved and stuff, that kind of stuff. I kind of liked how they made him it looked bad. I liked the concept of it.
Yeah, and I wanted to like this movie. Kraven, from what I know of him, he seems like a cool character, and I like Aaron Taylor Johnson. I was hoping he'd be cool, but yeah,
he was great in Bullet Train. Did you ever see that?
I haven't. No, I'll have to watch that.
Great in that. Yeah, there was like some things I liked, like some concept, and I don't know a lot about the character either, so I don't really know what's like accurate and what's not. So like I'm assuming some versions of him actually have powers and some maybe doesn't. I don't know. I didn't think he actually had powers.
Yeah, I don't know. But I assume that it did not follow the source material too closely. Just
then,
from
like,
the rest of the vibe of the movie, I'm going to assume that.
Probably not. And I don't know, like, who was... Yeah, well, we could talk about spoilers. But yeah, there's some things I'm just not sure of. But I know in the context of, like, the movie, it was... A lot of the side characters are bad. They're badly written.
Or just boring and not memorable.
Boring.
Yeah.
How did you, before we get into spoilers, just so I don't know, people could see what we think of it, how do you think of the villain? Like, without saying who the villain is.
I thought it could have been good, but I thought the guy who acted him did okay. He was like kind of off throughout some parts of the movie, which I thought could have been interesting, but it just, like, with the way they had the plot set up, it felt so weird. It was like, you don't see him for a long time, or they focus on like flashbacks, and then like the last part of the movie is like jam-packed where they just go way too quick, and it just, I don't know, it didn't really work.
I agree. And yeah, I guess, to talk about it more, we'll get into spoilers, but I agree with what you said. I think the villain was honestly weak. Honestly, all the characters are kind of weak, to be quite honest.
Yeah. I
think the only thing that semi was okay was like the brother relationship.
Yeah.
That to me, out of everything else, I'm like, okay, I mean, I could see, Kraven having a weakness like that, and like it's the classic, like, loved chosen son and hated son, and but anyways, I'm good to get into spoilers.
Let's get into spoilers. So, spoiler alert for Kraven. If you care about that, it's not that great of a movie, but if you care about spoilers, this is your spoiler warning for Kraven the Hunter.
And there probably won't be any more.
Yep, probably not.
Yeah, this movie bombed. Did you see how much it made?
No, but I figured
it only made like 10 million, like in the US.
How much did it cost to make?
Like before advertisement and stuff, like the actual movie itself was like 110 or 120 million, something like that.
Oh man!
And then like worldwide, it only made 25 million opening. That's actually worse than Madam Web. Can you believe it?
That's crazy.
Granted, this movie was delayed, I feel like forever, for like years. I think it was a couple of years it was delayed, or a year or two, from what I remember correctly.
I remember hearing about it, a while ago. There was one line where when I heard it, I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. And it was the girl, I forget her name now, and she was talking about her grandmother, and Kraven was like asking, can you get any more of that, super magic, whatever. And she said, no, my grandmother died, and then I never saw her again. Yes. And I was just like, dude, yeah, that's how death works.
Tell me why I wrote that exact line down. I'm like, wait a second. She literally said, my grandmother died shortly after, and I never saw her again. Well, like, I don't, like, really, you didn't.
Yeah, surprise.
That scene was awful. That was one of the scenes where, like, I was talking about, where they were having that conversation inside, and then she turns around, and, like, the conversation's kind of done, and then she's walking outside, and it sounds like just a dubbed voice, like, oh, they're coming, we gotta get ready. And then they have another completely different conversation about the conversation they had before. They just randomly said that.
That's so weird.
The audio was like, level was different. It sounded totally different. And of course it was probably dubbed because you can't see her lips talking. It's facing a different direction. And that scene was awful. And actually her scene with her grandmother at the beginning was awful, I thought too. The acting was terrible. Again, they're spelling out everything for you right then and there. I don't even remember her name. I just saw the dang movie.
Calypso. I just looked it up.
Calypso.
Actually, that scene was where I was like, this is not going to be good, because it started out like the grandmother was like telling her to put the cards away because her parents don't like it. And then the grandmother just explains everything like point blank and pulls. It was just, I'm like, this is
everything
bad.
Explained. Oh, here's this. You'll need this, and you'll know when, and this and that. Oh, that card is this. It's like no mystery. And then it literally, like I said, there's like that scene where it cuts to the Kraven and his brother in the tent, and they're all around that campfire.
Yep.
And I don't remember what they're talking about, but then one of the goons is like, yeah, well, you don't like your bastard son. Like, oh, okay. No, we just know. It was so bad. And it was so like there's no reason that little goon had to say that around the campfire.
No, it was like out of nowhere.
Yeah. It's multiple scenes of that. It's just awful. But yeah, I agree. That first scene, or whatever scene it was with, not first scene, but with the granddaughter and the grandma. And that flashback scene lasted longer than I thought it would.
It was really long.
It was like 20 or 30 minutes.
Yeah, and it just felt like it didn't leave... If that part was really long, and then the end fight part was like really short and rushed feeling.
Yeah, it was.
The plot seemed like super simple and straightforward, but it felt like they just took forever to get to a part that could have been interesting, like meeting the Rhino or the Foreigner or whatever. It just meandered all over the place.
There's even like little things where like at the end fight, I know we're bouncing around, but just the stupidity of them at the end fight when they're driving away and they see like all these what were they charging at him? Like buffalo or something?
Yeah.
And like,
yeah.
They're like the guy like looked shocked that he got hit by it. Like you guys couldn't like have tried to like done anything. I don't know. It was just weird. Like the Rhino was like preparing to get hit and stuff, but then these other goons were just looking straight forward, like what?
Yeah, that was silly.
There's just so many dumb. And the other thing I didn't like about this is Kraven got saved so many times in this.
Yeah.
I thought he was supposed to be like an expert hunter, man.
Yeah, my least favorite part was, so Calypso says she's like, oh yeah, I took archery in college, and I was like, oh great, they're gonna have her use that.
At summer camp. It's summer camp.
Oh,
and I was gonna make fun. I was gonna make fun of that line, like that's so stupid because
that's even worse.
Yeah, because she was aiming this. She picked up the bow and she found like his little stash and she was aiming at him. Oh, I'm a pro at this. I learned at summer camp.
And I was like, oh man, that's going to be some Deus Ex Machina thing where she saves him. And yep, he's fighting the Foreigner, which is probably the most interesting bad guy in terms of power.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, how is Kraven going to figure out how to beat this power that stops time when he's counting or whatever, which is, kind of weird. And the CG on it was kind of weird, but it's a cool idea. And I'm like, okay, so they're going to come up with an interesting, clever way for him to beat this? Nope, she just shoots him in the eyeball off screen because she said she knows archery. I was like, oh, man.
Just, homeboy was going to die. He was going to die multiple times. He got saved. What was with you? That fight was kind of cool. I'm like, oh, this is interesting. Like, how is he going to get out of this? Like, how's he going to outsmart this? And nope, he didn't. There was that one other time, too. What other time did he get saved? It was when his brother saved him.
This movie was not memorable. I watched it 2 days ago and I already forgot.
I just watched it and I forgot. I literally just freaking watched it, and I didn't make a note of this too, and I should have. There's 2 times he got saved. There's that time we were talking about, and there's one other time, and I can't remember. I feel like he was going to die by, it might have been the Rhino in the fight. There was one scene where he was going to die and he got saved again. Like someone distracted. I don't know if it was the Rhino or one of the goons or something, but he would have legitimately died.
Yeah.
Like I thought the whole point of Kraven, I mean, I'm not even a pro at this character, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought the whole point was he loved the challenge to overcome, like,
yeah. I mean, he's a hunter.
Yeah, the whole point was like, he should have been like, when he was fighting the Foreigner, I almost feel like he should have like in my mind, he should not enjoy it, but kind of, right? Like, he's like, ooh, how am I gonna...
Or use some of his skills as a hunter, like escape somehow, get out of his, line of sight, and then like hunt him, track him where the guy can't see him or something. Like that would have been more interesting and more true to his character as a hunter, like stalking this guy so he can't find him. Yeah, it's just...
Yeah, it was I don't know, like for being like Kraven the Hunter, and I know there's like diehard Spider-Man fans that love Kraven the Hunter. Like I can see how this is not a good adaptation, because even for someone who doesn't know a lot about Kraven, I'm like, yeah, this guy's not that cool. He got saved multiple times. I don't see him really being intimidating.
I mean, it's just so hard to make these characters without Spider-Man. They're like originally made to be a foil to Spider-Man, and they're just using them. I read that they're using them so that Marvel can't use them because they need to use them in a certain amount of time or something.
Yeah, and I could see that.
Yeah, that's annoying.
I don't get it either, because I mean, the whole point of these villains is, I mean, you can give a villain an origin story, but like, these are Spider-Man villains.
I know, and it seems like they're trying to make them good guys, or at least Kraven a good guy. Like, he's saving animals when I thought he was supposed to be a hunter, and like they're making him like not just be the protagonist, but be the good character when he's a villain.
Yeah, he's like freaking what's her face from the Wild Thornberries. With the animals, the freaking living amongst them, and The only thing is you can't talk to them. Well, you kind of.
It seemed like
I was almost expecting a bird was going to talk. There was a scene where there was like a bird at the window. I'm like, oh god, are they going to make him communicate with this bird?
That was weird.
Does he have like a bird in the comics? Is that like some Easter egg or something?
Maybe.
Like a hawk or something?
That scene in particular stood out to me. Like, why are they showing this bird? They focused on it.
That's why I thought, like, I swear to God, I thought the bird was going to start talking or something. Like, oh, is he going to realize he has like some sort of weird power? The other thing, and I'm sure Calypso is like big in the comics and stuff, but I don't know, I think her character was weak too, and kind of not needed.
Like, he's supposed to be this great hunter, but he needs her just to get names, or does she do the hunting for him now? Like, it just, I don't know, it seemed kind of useless.
I don't know, maybe she is in the comics and that he does use her, but it just was so weird because it seemed like he already had a list. Like, the way the Rhino is talking is he has a list and once you're on it, but then he's going over to Calypso and saying, hey, get me names so I could add more to my list, I guess.
That was weird.
Her character, honestly, you could take her out of this movie. Well, if you take her out of this movie, he's dead. But, like, she fixed that part. If you take her out of this movie, she literally wasn't needed. Like, all this could have happened without her. And that was another scene that I wrote down that was just a stupid coincidence. Like, she was talking to Kraven on the phone. Like, and he's like, oh, they're going to find you. And she's looking down. Oh, there's guys that don't look like they should be here. Yeah, like, she's looking up from her office.
It was like 5 guys from like 20 stories up, and she knew those were the guys that were coming for her. And
Kraven just so happened to be talking on the phone, and she just so happened to look down there. Oh, those must be the guys. They don't look like they should be here. Literally her exact lines. They don't look like they belong here.
They're like 5 guys in suits in a lawyer's office. That doesn't even make sense, but okay, whatever.
But you're right, though. Seriously, like, the whole plot of this is he has a list. He ran away, right? They take his brother. He's super close to his brother. His brother's weak. And the Rhino got pictures from somebody that I don't even know Kraven's real name. What's his real name?
Dimitri, I think.
No, Dimitri's the brother. It's Sergey or whatever.
Sergey.
Anyways, the Rhino got photos that Sergey is Kraven. He figured it out, and so the only weakness that the Rhino figured out he had is his brother, but only because he was hunting Kraven, but his brother was the only one there. Anyways, what I'm trying to say is all this plot about the Rhino and then taking his brother and this and that, why did you need Calypso? Why couldn't you have Kraven, like, be a hunter, like you said, and stalk and figure things out? And to me, that diminishes the character.
The whole point.
And as far as the Rhino, so what did you say you thought of the Rhino? Like, you thought he was okay?
I thought he could have been good. Like, the actor, I feel like, could have been good because he was kind of like offsetting at some points with like how like he was kind of, he seemed a little off kilter. But man, this movie just did not give him much. It just,
no,
I don't know. Yeah, the CG on his turning into the Rhino looked weird. It's not really. I didn't think that was what the Rhino was supposed to be. Also, like, that's not how I've seen him portrayed, as like this gangster kind of guy. So that's also weird. And yeah, it didn't really work for me.
I don't know like much of his origin story in the comics and stuff. I just know what we've seen him, the games and the movies and stuff. But I'm so sick of like, is it just me or does it seem like every movie's trying to make villains like all quirky and stuff? Sometimes I just want like an evil, menacing villain.
Yeah, that's true.
Every movie is trying to make quirky villains.
If it's done really well and not overdone, then it can be good. But this one, it didn't really work. He could have just been a regular gangster guy.
Yeah, it felt like they're trying too hard.
With like trying him and his dog. And
I don't know. I was not a fan. Like you said, I could see the potential, but it just did not work for me. And I thought, like you mentioned, the Foreigner was kind of the other villain. And again, honestly, kind of pointless. He almost was used more as like a henchman in this. But I thought he was more interesting than the Rhino, to be quite honest.
He was, and he could have been even cooler, but it just didn't work.
And he actually had like a backstory to really want to hunt
they should
Kraven.
Have shown us that instead of telling us that, and focus less on some of the other stuff. Even the focus less on the Rhino or something. They
just tell you everything, man.
Yeah.
They just tell you, tell. But that's what I mean. Like, he actually had a backstory to that would make sense to go after Kraven, whereas the Rhino just was scared of him because he was on his list.
Yeah. And you know what was really weird thinking about it now? What was the point of having the Rhino on that hunting trip? It was
I don't know. I was
just like they didn't have to have that.
Even their dad, Kraven and his brother Dimitri's dad, was like, "Why are you in my space? Get away! Like, why are you on the trip?" And I knew they were setting up the villain right there. I'm like, "Oh, here we go. They're gonna set up that he hates the family, or yada yada yada."
What did you think of Russell Crowe in this movie? We haven't really talked about him.
I thought he was okay. As far as like characters, I mean, he definitely wasn't the worst one.
That's true.
I mean, I thought, again, I just thought he was generic. It's like the same. It's just a generic. It's just generic.
Yeah. He almost seemed more like the Kraven I know from like the video game than Kraven in this movie did, to be honest.
They kind of like even say that at the end of the movie, like when the father gives him the gift.
Yeah, that's true.
At the very end, and he's like, "You're not my son, you are me," or whatever. That's like the monologue said. And by the way, I did not like that ending of the movie. Them doing some Abercrombie and Fitch, looking in a mirror, sitting down on a chair. Abercrombie and Fitch pose, man.
And the whole thing with his brother was weird too. They're definitely like leaving it open to making another one, but yeah, having his brother just show himself as the chameleon and taking over the business, it just didn't feel like it fit for that character from what we've seen of him in the movie at all.
They never even gave us hints. The only kind of hint or foreshadowing they gave was when the Rhino was telling him he found a doctor in New York.
Yeah, and I guess like the voices, being able to mimic voices, I guess. And I think the dad even called him a chameleon at one point. But those are so... I was expecting him to like use his voice thing to like trick someone and help Kraven win a fight with that or something, but that never happened.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like you said, they're telling us, oh, the chameleon, oh, I can change my voice. But none of his actions ever indicate that he would turn like bad like that quickly. Even Kraven's like, "What do you mean? You said you're gonna stop." He's like, "Oh, I changed my mind." That was literally his line. I changed my mind. What?
It makes no sense.
I don't. Maybe you're right. I mean, they're trying to sequel bait it, which is not gonna happen.
No, definitely not.
I will say, I did not mind the relationship. I was gonna say I liked, but I'll say I did not mind instead.
Yeah, that was probably one of the better parts of the movie.
Yeah, I thought they did pretty well. I mean, I guess as well as you can in a movie like this.
In this movie, yeah. Okay, tell me, the CG when he's like seeing stuff from far away, like when he saw that cigarette, was that not just like, I don't know, that CG stuck out to me as so bad looking. Like they could have just zoomed in and we could have just inferred that he saw it with his like abilities, but they did like this weird half zoom in on part of the screen and it just looked so weird. I
mean, the CG looked weird. The whole freaking movie. Okay, what are some positives, dude? I know we said a couple positives, but do you have any other positives?
I thought like some of the action, like the car chase scene after that weird zoom in CG thing it was passable. Like there were some interesting things in there. It felt pretty high energy and a cool chase. But so some of the action, I guess, for me, that's kind of it. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it just felt like a very generic movie that was not done very well. The writing was weird. So the action, I guess, was okay.
Also, yeah, the action was decent. I mean, it's rated R, so you got some of the violence. I mean...
Yeah. Even the opening scene with him assaulting the prison or getting into prison and then escaping, that was interesting.
Yeah, because we actually like saw him hunt.
Yeah.
In a way, I guess. I guess we saw the end of the hunt. I guess we didn't see everything leading up to it. But yeah, because we didn't really see him hunt necessarily in this movie. I mean...
Not really.
I know it's kind of, I guess, supposed to be an origin story, but...
Yeah, I guess when he went to like Turkey or whatever to find his brother there, he kind of did some, but I mean that also was just her feeding him where it is and then him going and stalking in there and using like that blow dart thing.
Yeah, that's true. That's probably the only, I mean, I guess besides the end, like the last 10 minutes or whatever. What do you think of like the last 10 minutes?
I was not really a fan. It felt super rushed again, and like, I mean, I understand him letting the bear kill his dad, but did he lure the bear there, and how did he make it wait for his line? And like, I don't know. And then
I understand. Did he communicate with animals somehow?
It kind of, like I've said, it kind of seems like they were going with that, but they never explained it. And and then him sitting in front of the mirror in his pose was kind of corny.
That ending was so dumb.
And his brother flipping jumping makes no sense. The last 10 minutes was confusing, weird, and just, I mean, I guess it's kind of like the rest of the movie, kind of just thrown together.
Mm-hmm. When I was in the theater watching it, and I saw the ending, like, it was like, what villain movie ends where homeboy takes off his shirt, puts on his jacket, and stares at himself in the mirror? Like, doing this pose, like some Abercrombie and Fitch pose, man, like as a model.
I don't know. It was
like,
strange.
Is that supposed to be menacing? Like, this is like a villain movie of all the kind of. It's, using a villain, at least.
Yeah. Using a villain, make him seem like a hero, but then ending on a note that's supposed to be like menacing. It was weird. I don't think they knew what to do with this movie.
I don't think there's an after credit scene.
No, I don't think so. I didn't even stay, but I looked it up after. It said there wasn't, so I'll believe that.
Yeah, I was sitting there and I looked it up and it said nope. I'm like, all right. I'm like, well, that's it through credits.
Yep.
The one other thing I had was what was the guy that it's how bad this movie was. I literally just saw this movie like 2 hours ago. I can't remember. Yes, it wasn't important.
That's going to be me in a year when we're like, oh yeah, the Kraven movie. I remember nothing about it. I'm sure it's going to just like go away. It's not memorable at all.
No. It's literally like, even if this was on TV, I wouldn't like be like, oh, this was all right. I'll watch it.
Yeah, true.
So, yeah, I pretty much got nothing else to say about this.
Yep, disappointing. Maybe Marvel will eventually get it back and we can see some Spider-Man and Kraven. I wouldn't mind Aaron Taylor Johnson, coming back as Kraven for a Marvel or with Spider-Man with different people. That might be interesting, but I do not need another solo Kraven movie. No thanks.
Yeah, I agree. Which is unfortunate because he was awesome in the game.
Yeah, he was. I totally agree.
Like, he was really cool in the game and intimidating in the game.
Yeah, that was all I had.
Well, same.